garden oasis where every bloom is perfect. God sees us not just as we are, but as we will be. God's garden oasis where every bloom is perfect. God sees us not just as we are, but as we will be.
The Valley of the Dolls. That was a show that was out lots of years ago. And Death Valley. Valleys are mentioned in stories and in books, but they're also mentioned in the Bible. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Nancy Hammond. This is God's Garden Oasis. I'm glad you're here. A valley is a low place between hills. You know, the shepherds, even though they would have their sheep high on the hills, they would have to sometimes come down into the valley to bring their sheep to better grazing areas and even to water. And so the valley was an important place to get to. Sometimes, though, it would be scary how they had to get there. And so they had to be very careful. Psalm 23 verse 4 says, "Even when things are hard and scary, even when I am in the valley of the shadow of death, I will not be afraid because my God is with me." And Ezekiel 37 verse 1 says that sometimes I will be in a valley. It's not like we should ever think that our lives could ever be free of valleys, of low places, because it is just not the way it's going to be. I read a really wonderful blog yesterday by a gal named Christy G. It's CHRISTI. GEE is her last name, and if you go to hername.com, you will see her blog. She wrote about 5 things to do when you go through the valley. 5 things, and she talks about them real specifically. I loved it. It was great. But the 2 things that I really took away from that was valleys will happen. Expect them. Prepare for them. And that valleys are purposeful. There is a reason to be in that low spot. There is something to be learned. There is growth to be had. And so we should take advantage of those times. Even when it talks about, though I be in the valley of the shadow of death, in order to have a shadow, there has to be light. So remember that God is with us even in those difficult times. The last thing that Christy had talked about was that faith is not immune to trials. And faith is fueled by trials. Our faith gets deepened and strengthened by going through trials and us coming out on the other side with growth. That's a wonderful thing to keep in mind. We will never be overcome if our faith stays strong. Have you been through a valley lately? We seem to be going through lots of valleys these days, but we also know that our God is with us and that we will come out strengthened with a deeper faith as we move through this time. Jesus, I thank you for the valleys, even though sometimes those are hard. The hard times, the trials, they are difficult to go through. But Lord, I thank you for being with me each and every step of the way, and I put my trust in you that through that valley, I will grow stronger and more in love with you. Amen. Have a great day.